Welcome to episode number 2 of the End of Life Journey series. The topics that will be covered in this session are patient-centered care, patient rights and responsibilities, advocacy, alternate decision makers, advanced care planning, advanced directives, and do not resuscitate orders, commonly known as DNRs. Hello, my name is Leanna, and I'm here to share my lived experiences on this topic. This material is for educational purposes only. I do not encourage, promote, or endorse any specific course of action. I'm here to provide you with information which may help you make the informed decisions that will be best meeting your needs and wishes as you experience your end-of-life journey. Only you can make those choices. I encourage you to use this information to do further investigations into circumstances and services in your area, because healthcare is a provincial and territorial responsibility, and each is unique. These videos are meant to be a starting place to help you map out your journey and deal with any roadblocks you may encounter along the way. In many provinces and territories, the medical community is beginning to talk about patient-centered care. Research has shown that when an individual actively participates in the discussions about their own health care and the decision-making associated with it, they are more likely to follow through with the plan. It shows that when a person is involved in the decision-making surrounding their medical problems, they are more likely to actively participate in the solutions and their own care. Some medical schools are training their students in this practice. When I was caring for my mother, I was invited to participate in the First Patient program at Queen's University in Kingston, Ontario. For 2 years, I was assigned to 2 first-year medical students as their first patient. They shadowed me and my family during this time, attending medical appointments and observing me at work. They also came to our home and dined with my family so they could see me firsthand as an individual and not just a patient with symptoms on a chart. I'm sure this experience broadened their perspective as to the holistic nature of their patients' needs and was of value to them when they became doctors. I often reminded them that I was much more than the chart on the door of the examination room. And as a result, they were not only treating me as an individual, but me as a human being with a family, work, and a social life. Those factors would ultimately impact the treatment plan we would choose to address my medical needs. Unfortunately, although there is an effort to enact patient-centered care during medical training, in some places it's still a dream and only lip service is being paid to the concept. In my personal experience, there's lots of talk, but often little action in the actual delivery of services. I believe people mean well, but the idea is still relatively new, and some people in the medical community still cling to the old-fashioned traditional idea that only those in charge be they doctors, nurse practitioners, or specialists, know what's best for the patient. There are exceptions. I've worked with some doctors that were active listeners and showed genuine compassion and caring towards their patients. A person needs to be empowered by feeling like they're being heard and actively participating in the decision-making process. It's our human right as a patient. It's also our responsibility to question our care providers and ask for a second opinion if we have concerns. In patient-centered care, you are the captain of your medical team, and everyone else is there to provide you with their expert knowledge and opinions. It's your right to ask them to provide the facts that they have discovered through a variety of tests and to explain them to you, carefully answering all your questions. It is then your responsibility to decide what you're going to do next. They are the consultants. You are the decision maker. Provinces and territories have patient bills of rights and responsibilities. The federal government has created a Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. There are broad references to healthcare in it, but because the province and territories each manage their own healthcare systems, they all have unique patient bills of rights and responsibilities. If you are unable to find the one specific to your area, I suggest you contact your local doctor, hospital, or member of parliament. They will help you get a copy so you and your advocate can approach your medical team with confidence when making decisions. I remember how overwhelmed I felt when I was confronted with a diagnosis of a serious medical problem the first time. It was frightening and confusing. After being so sick, then going through all the tests and appointments to find out what was going on and finally being told what was wrong. When I finally got the diagnosis, I was alone as I had been through all the many appointments and tests. Serious illness puts tremendous stress on the relationships a person has with others in their lives, whether it be a partner or spouse, your children, or your parents. Unless someone else has gone through it themselves, they really don't understand. Phrases such as, "it's all in your head," or "you just need to pull up your socks and get on with it," or "you're a hypochondriac," are not helpful. Having others actively involved in your appointments and care are essential. It not only helps family and friends understand your medical problems and treatments, but also provides you with critical support. I acted as an advocate and later as an alternate decision maker for both my mother and my late husband as they made their end-of-life journey. Now, family and friends accompany me to my appointments. My adult children are my alternate decision makers. I vividly remember seeing my husband's eyes glass over after about 5 minutes into an appointment. Now, as I'm facing major medical problems such as cancer, I find I experience the same thing. My mind can only absorb so much information before it shuts down, and I can no longer process what's being said, let alone ask intelligent questions or make decisions. I've learned to make a list of questions before the appointment. I also ask my advocate to keep notes during the meeting and ask questions, knowing that at some point I won't be able to absorb any more information. However, later, it's wonderful to be able to go back and discuss or clarify facts, test results, impressions, or what was said during the conference with my advocate. I have found that it reduces some of the tension and anxiety before, during, and after medical appointments. If you are alone and don't have anyone to act as your advocate, nurse navigators, patient advocates, and social workers can accompany you and fulfill that role. Ask your doctor or an administrator at the medical facility if such services are provided or whether you can get this type of support. Anxiety can be overwhelming at times. I encourage you to reach out. Being alone was often frightening for me. I'd like to take a moment to explain the difference between an advocate and an alternate decision maker. An advocate is any person you trust who will accompany you to appointments and tests as you deal with your medical problems. An alternate decision maker or power of attorney is someone you have chosen to legally represent you when you are no longer able to make medical or financial decisions for yourself. Regardless of your age or marital status, you should have a valid will and power of attorney. They must be a person you trust to speak on your behalf when you are no longer able. Because a power of attorney is designated through a legal process, the rules governing their creation are controlled by the province or territories in which you live. If you have access to a computer, these documents can be downloaded from your local government site or through several volunteer agencies. If you don't have a computer or know how to do a search, you can have someone do it for you, or you can phone your local member of parliament, provincially or territorially. I have done a considerable amount of volunteer work for several organizations and would recommend you contact the Canadian Virtual Hospice or Dying with Dignity Canada. Their websites contain all the information, terminology, forms, and advice you need. The Canadian Virtual Hospice contains information unique to the needs of the Aboriginal, Two-Spirit, and LGBTQ2+ communities. I would suggest that if you are watching online videos or YouTube videos, that you check the dates they were created to make sure that the content is still valid. The MAID legislation has been updated several times since it was passed in June of 2016 due to court challenges from many provinces. Make sure that the information you are using is current and valid. The other documents you may wish to create are things like a do not resuscitate order. This is a legal document you can fill out with the help of your doctor. The DNR is different in each province and territory. Once again, the forms can easily be downloaded from your computer or provided by a lawyer. This document tells first responders, such as paramedics or hospital staff, to do not provide you with any type of medical intervention in an emergency. In Ontario, when I was caring for my mother at home, her DNR was kept in her palliative care binder. In PEI, my husband's DNR was kept in a bright yellow folder on the refrigerator. In both cases, it was meant to be an obvious spot that was easy to find when the paramedics arrived. I'll talk about it in greater detail in a later video. It is a way in which the medical community respects the right of the patient to die with dignity on their own terms. In that respect, it can be viewed as a passive form of medically assisted death. During this part of your end-of-life journey, you will also want to make sure you have an advance care directive and that you have documented your specific wishes. Both of those volunteer organization websites have those documents available to you online. Again, what's legal varies from province to territory. This particular document can be extremely important if you choose a medically assisted death. I'll provide more information about that in a later video. Two other medical terms that will come up in your end-of-life journey are hospice and palliative care. I'm currently receiving palliative care through Community Services in Ontario. I receive home care daily to assist me with tasks that I can no longer perform myself because of my medical problems. In most places, palliative care means that the medical community is supporting an individual who is facing a life-threatening or life-limiting illness that is both progressive and cannot be cured. Palliative care programs often offer support to family members who may be caregivers as well. The focus of palliative care is to improve a person's quality of life, allowing them to live in comfort with dignity and peace of mind. In my case, those services are provided at home. Hospice care is provided during the last few months or weeks of life, depending on where you live and what services are available. Unfortunately, because governments failed to plan adequately for the great number of baby boomers who are all reaching the same stage in their end-of-life journey, those critical services are not always available. What is available is very difficult to access and can vary dramatically from one area to another within the same province. I recently moved from one part of the province to another, and the level of support I had been receiving decreased dramatically, creating a deterioration in my quality of life and additional financial burdens amounting to hundreds of dollars a month. For someone like me on a pension, that creates additional anxiety as my monthly income drops, along with the quality of care I'm receiving. The Canadian Virtual Hospice website does an excellent job of explaining these terms. I'll also devote time in a later video to talking about grief, specifically anticipatory grief. Under certain circumstances, people experiencing grief even before the loved one dies, they anticipate the grief that they know is coming, and they have to deal with the consequences even before their loved one is gone. I've dealt with it myself several times as I supported family members who were dying. But I had not expected to have anticipatory grief as my own death approached. That has been a shock. And as I said, I'll talk about it more in a later video that deals with grief. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. I hope the information I have provided will help you map out an end-of-life journey that meets your unique needs. All the links I have mentioned in the video will be in the description down below. Please like and subscribe to this end-of-life video series if you have found it helpful. Make sure to share this with others so we can truly engage Canadians in this conversation about death and dying with dignity on our own terms.